What's going on? Metabolic as Fuck podcast. Today we're going to be talking to you about your self-sabotaging your diet. Here's why and what to do. Before I get into that, if you're watching on YouTube, please like, subscribe, turn notifications on. If you're listening to this on Spotify, iTunes, hit that bell button, ding, write a review. All helps me and us help more people like you. I'm joined with Ambra. What up?
What's up?
What up, G? Ambra, you were joining me for the last show, but I really just, you like introduced yourself as a coach and that was kind of it. But obviously there's more of a backstory than like you just as a coach. I think your life started before you worked for DC Fitness, right?
I think so. I think I was born prior to.
Damn, for real?
I was.
Shit. I know. Okay, well, why don't you tell us your story of, well, not like your whole life story, but maybe like your health and fitness story.
Okay, I'll try to give you the cliff notes. Yeah,
talking to the mic.
What's up?
Yeah, talking to the mic. Probably raise it up. P. Pablo it.
There we go. Is that better?
Come on, raise up.
Yeah, I grew up playing softball. I was always pretty just active in general. I grew up underweight, and that was a big thing for me because I know people. We were just talking about how you get bullied or get told things because you're overweight.
Yeah.
But I don't think a lot of people really realize the opposite end of it when you're underweight and how that feels.
Yeah.
And clothes don't fit very well, and you just feel super scrawny, and people make comments, and it's almost like they think it's okay. Yeah. Like, are you anemic? Or, they think it's okay to make comments about your body because you're skinny, but it's actually just as hurtful. So, I grew up underweight. I even went to a point when I was like 19, I was eating so much food. I had no idea what I was doing, by the way. And it took me like 6 months to gain 10 pounds. And I felt good. And I was like, cool. But my fitness journey is just all about, like, I am the queen of inconsistency of stopping and stopping and starting. Like, I'm going to get really fit. And then I would do it for like 2 or 3 months and then I'd stop.
Yeah.
So I had no consistency. When I first started, I started working with DC Fitness with you 2019. I was in such, like, my lifestyle habits were so bad. And that's why I tell a lot of my clients.
What was that like?
If I can change, you can.
Were you just like snorting cocaine, doing Molly, and then partying until 5 a.m. and drinking like a gallon of vodka, or like
that? Or I was really miserable at my job. I was so unhappy. I ended up just quitting. So I was miserable. I'd never been that unhappy in my life.
When you're working for the real estate lady?
Yeah.
Shout out her. Dude, what a,
I was like,
that's a horrible human being. But
I worked long hours, and my routine was I worked long days. I was eating out all the time.
Yeah.
I'd have a glass of wine 4 to 5 times a week, not drinking water, sleep was crap, was not working out. And I was just in this really bad place, just like because of my lifestyle habits. And I was so busy, I didn't really know how to get out of that. And so I quit that job. I got hired like 2.5 weeks later with you. And now I'm surrounded by health and fitness. And part of my interest as to why I applied to the job was I knew I needed that. It's like, that sounds cool. Like, that would probably be a really good shift. I used to have an all or nothing mindset. So I went from doing this really shitty lifestyle to like, I'm going to go get fit. And I got going when the job, and it was super busy, long hours. It was fun. But then I realized I can't actually promote a healthy lifestyle or like ask other people to do these things if I'm not doing it myself.
Yeah.
And that's when I started my own personal journey. I was what I guess we would call skinny fat. I was about 30% body fat.
Yeah.
And I was like 128 pounds.
Yeah.
When I started.
Yeah.
And I'm not a big person. I'm only 5'3", but 30% body fat. I mean, that's basically almost obese if you look at it from
on that scale.
On the scale. So again, all or nothing. I followed our food template to the T. I didn't deviate for like 8 weeks. I lost a ton of body fat. I started going. I was only working out twice a week at the studio.
Did you do the classes at the studio? Oh, nice.
I would do them twice a week.
Yeah.
I started doing like a Kundalini yoga class and just running.
Nice.
So it was good because I was just doing healthier things and trying to build that lifestyle. It honestly wasn't until the pandemic happened that I had more time. We had more time.
So much more time.
So I started getting on a running regimen. I was doing an ab workout almost daily with a couple of your coaches. And I just started to eat better, but I was still kind of eating in a deficit. So it was
Yeah.
a interesting journey. And then I ended up reaching out to you and just kind of letting you know, like, I kind of need help, you know, even because I didn't start as a
I
coach.
thought I reached out. Oh, well, I thought I reached out to. Oh, wait, hold on. Okay, continue that thought.
I started as the operations
I know
manager. I
that.
did sales, and then I went into coaching,
Yes.
and then I started realizing the gaps in my own lifestyle habits when I started coaching other people.
Right.
And I think, you did reach out. You're like, hey, if you want me to coach you, like, I'll coach you so you can kind of.
Well, also, didn't I start coaching when we started working out at Gold's?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's when I reached out to you. I was like, hey, like, I want, you want to work out with me? I want someone to work out with, and I need some content too. Which, whatever, I wouldn't really like that. Didn't last long.
You
The content
messaged
part.
me like a week after I had literally put it out to the universe. Like, I want to take my fitness to the next
Manifest
level.
that shit.
Manifested.
Yeah, dude, you're spiritual fucking guru.
And then you
over
messaged
here.
me, and I was like,
Can I
fuck
get
yeah.
that screen.
And then you're like, great. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday at 5 a.m. And I was like, what the
Fuck did I just get into? Yeah, we did it in
But
vibes.
it's what I asked for.
Yeah.
Right. So a lot of times we think we want something, but it's not always going to come to us in the way that we would ideally like it.
Yeah.
But this was my opportunity to work with you, to train with you, and I was, you know, very insecure about going into a gym because I didn't really know
What you were doing.
what I was doing. And so that was a good comfort for me to like
Yeah.
go in and for you to actually push me. I knew you were going to correct my form.
Mhm.
I wasn't going to get injured. And then you started coaching me with my training prior to that, like a month or so. So we went through a cut, and I started just lifting, and I fucking loved it, you
Yeah.
know, because it was just so empowering. I was like,
Right.
holy shit, I can lift that. What else
I can get
I
stronger.
do?
I can go more next week. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, like, you know, yeah. You got at the time, what was that? 14 years of like coaching experience for free 99.
I
Like,
mean,
come up. But actually, you know what? It wasn't. No, but like the way I thought of it was like, this is like a good investment because it's making you a better coach, which is
Oh,
helping our
100%.
clients way better, you know?
100%.
And obviously, like, it's priceless to have you as like, you know, you're practicing what you preach and like being about that, just as a coach in terms of like your conviction in the program and your coaching and all that stuff. So I feel like I was like, that's such a good investment.
yeah. And one thing you had said to me, this was prior to when we started lifting, because you've coached me with my fitness.
Don't be a little bitch.
That was one. The other one was because I had talked to you about my inconsistencies
Yeah.
and how I always stop and start. And you said to me, it was in one of our one-on-ones, like, well, what would happen if you just didn't stop? Like, what if you start and you just didn't stop? Like, don't you deserve like to give yourself the chance to figure out what would happen?
Yeah.
And I was like, holy shit, what if I didn't stop?
What if you didn't?
So I had to shift out of that all or nothing, which is great because I'm now able to help other clients get out of that.
Mhm.
It's like A-type, all or nothing clients. Those are my jam. They get amazing results with me because
Game recognized game.
yes, I'm a recovering perfectionist. I've learned to just be consistent.
Yeah.
It's not always about being perfect, but I'm the most consistent I've ever been in my fitness lifestyle.
Mm.
And it's amazing because I'll walk by and be like, oh shit, look at
Guns, baby.
those.
Yeah, I mean,
Where
it's
did
so
those
funny to
come
watch
from?
because remember that video we were watching when you first started? You're like squatting. I think you were squatting like 115.
Yeah.
And I was looking. By the way, I don't call you. Everyone's like, wow, he calls her a little bitch while they work out. It's in sarcasm and totally kidding. But
and it's reciprocated. We do talk to each
totally.
other.
No, but when you're squatting 115, you looked so little, and now you look like you ate that person. Like that's how small you looked in that video.
I
now.
got so tiny.
Yeah.
I
Well, you were
was
really
mo-
lean, but you also weren't weightlifting. Like you weren't strength training. That was like your
No.
first month of doing it. So you're like this, like, you know,
I got
like,
to
just create a monster.
104, I think, because
Yeah.
I started at 110. And it's crazy because I was started at 110. I got down to 104-ish. And I remember getting there and I was like, Dylan, I'm getting too thin. I'm like 104. And you're like, oh, shit, we need a reverse diet.
Yeah.
Because it was just my weight just started dropping pretty steadily. And then when we reverse dieted, it was my body composition. Now I weigh 124, give or take. And I look way better now than I did at 110 when I was leaner, but just not lifting.
Before you started your whole journey and you were like thinking about like putting on muscle, were you like, I don't want to get bulky? Like, did you kind of have that in your mind? Like, I have good muscle now. Like, I'll get bulky if I start lifting heavy.
No, because
Okay. 'Cause you were
I
coming
got
from underweight.
addicted to the
Cocaine.
PRs
Yeah.
and like getting stronger. And it's very empowering as a woman when you're lifting with guys. And granted that, you know, some of our clients or some guys would come and work out with us.
Like that one guy that talked shit to you. And he was like, "You can grab the 15s? Here I have them." You're like, "Dude, I'm grabbing the 40s, homie."
No, he had the 40s and he was like, "Oh, do you need these?" And he like pointed to his 40s. I was like, "No, I'm going to
Grab
get these." And I
60s.
grabbed the 60s and he was
Yeah.
like, "Oh."
Oh. Yeah, I mean, dude,
Yeah.
it's like, yeah. I mean, but those old timers, those old heads, like, they don't, I mean, they're coming from such a generation of, like, probably when they were in the gym, like, that's what women wanted to lift. But now you want to get stronger. And a lot of other women out there, it's like a big trend, especially in, like, people, influencers, 20s and stuff, like, girls, like, they want to get strong and big. And it's
Yeah.
freaking awesome.
I
But,
follow a few girls that are just fucking badasses. Like that's
yeah.
my inspiration. I'm like, damn, I want to get that strong.
So you were talking about the all in all out and like that self-sabotaging. What would you do when you went out to self-sabotage and like get off that train in the past?
So because I was all or nothing, and so what I was doing before we started lifting, I think I was only eating like 1,400 calories. I kind of just stayed in this weird deficit-ish, not quite deficit limbo.
Yeah.
But I would eat pretty healthy, and then I'd have a day out of the month where I just eat whatever the F I wanted.
And then you just fall off completely after that?
No, it would just like, I'm going to have this day. I'm going to eat God knows how many calories. I'm going to go order Cheesecake Factory and get the
Hell
4
yeah.
cheese pasta with the chicken and the
YOLO.
cheesecake and just go YOLO. Because I was good all month.
Yeah.
My idea of like, good.
Yeah. Good as
And that was consistent where,
Right.
or, you know, emotional eating. So when I get super stressed or emotional, I don't eat. So I'm not an emotional eater, but I do want comfort
emotional
foods.
non-eater.
I'm emotional non-eater, but then when I do eat, it's just like comfort food. Like I don't feel like cooking. I'm going to go get
Yeah.
XYZ. So that was my form of self-sabotage. But when we started lifting and I started dialing in my eating much, because you were tough on me. You were like, hit your macros at zeros. I want those hit at zeros. I want this. But pushing me in that way and also pushing me in the gym, it built a mental toughness. And that's why I'm such an advocate for women or anyone lifting in the gym. And actually knowing what it means to take your sets to failure, it builds this resilience, and not just for you, just in life. You learn to handle things better. You just become mentally tough. You build this mental toughness. It's also, you know, the mind is also a muscle, and you're building that in the process of building your body.
100%. I think, it's really interesting to kind of hear that. I was all or nothing in the past too. I remember in college, I'd like get super drunk one night, and the next day I'd be like writing my goals out. I'm like, I'm never drinking again. I'm gonna eat clean and da da da. And like it would just be like this, like constant, like over and over. And even when I was like training for the first 10 years, I was still self-sabotaging. I didn't even hire my own coach until, I don't know, whatever that was, 4 or 5 years ago. But yeah, my self-sabotage, and I would even self-sabotage when I was with my coach too. I remember one time I was so hungry, and it was like 1 a.m. and I was just walking by these, I don't know what they were, like Oatly bars. They weren't even like a bad thing, but they would like deviate from my nutrition. And I was like, I just didn't have control, and I wasn't thinking. And he was like, well, let me stop you there, because you did have control. Because I woken up, right, and I ate them, and I had to like tell him back that like, hey, I had like 3 of these Oatly bars, and they were like 500 calories each, and I went over like by 1,500. And he was just like, well, let's step back, because like, you know, let's not say that you didn't have control, and that could be because you had just woken up. Like, you still made a choice, right? And you still have to like own that. And I think it was really interesting. Like I was self-sabotaging way before that. Like I would just like track my food, and then I would just stop. Like I would just be like, oh, this is too much, or, you know, this diet's too hard, or whatever, I'm going to change it. And I would just like talk myself out of it. That was my self-sabotage, was just being like, I'm going to be doing this, and then I'm just going to make it okay that I'm not doing it anymore. And I just like had this whole thing in my head, and I would look for evidence in my life where, you know, supporting that I didn't need to do that anymore, and just like did not need to stay on. So that was my version of self-sabotage. Yeah, whatever. Still comes up, you know, I'm not perfect. Like I still deviate from my nutrition and do things that I haven't. But it's a lot hard. It's a lot harder to self-sabotage when you're not hungry. Like right now, I'm not hungry at all, so it's like I don't really need to deviate from my nutrition, because like hunger sucks, and it's like yeah. So and getting used to that and getting comfortable with that is really tough, but it's like, it's, you know, it's easier to self-sabotage and talk yourself and kind of like justification, you know,
Oh,
justify
100%.
why you're
That's why I
doing,
would
and
eat like
that's like
shit once a month.
self-sabotage. Yeah. Right.
I was like, I did good all month.
Right. And that's a form of self-sabotage because you're basically like normalizing it. I'm gonna
Right.
be all, you know, woke here on this podcast and use I should edit that out. But no, I just like you're basically making it okay for that to happen, right?
Yeah. It's
Justification.
you're justifying it and taking care of your body, doing the right things, not deviating from whatever habits that you've placed for yourself that
Yeah.
help you feel good and move things forward for you. That's a form of self-love and it's a form of self-care.
Yeah.
And when you start to take really good care of yourself and you start to love yourself, you really don't want to self-sabotage. Not that it doesn't happen, like you said, oh, sometimes I still do. I still do sometimes. Like it's hard when your emotions come into play
Yeah.
and being able to overcome that. I have clients who feel terrible and they start to beat themselves up. Like last night I had this and da 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 and I couldn't stop and like, okay, well, it's okay, first of all, and thank you
Right.
for telling me because
Right.
that takes a lot of courage to own up to it.
100%.
But you know, what did you learn from the experience, and
Right.
what can we do differently? And
Yeah.
now we try to start to formulate strategies and help building tools. So I've worked with clients that have worked through like eating disorders, like binge eating. Most people are emotional eaters,
Mm-hmm.
us
Yeah.
included.
Yeah. 100%. I think most people are emotional eaters. Yeah.
And it's working through that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And I think self-sabotage is like letting that get the best of you, like letting the stuff that you're going to deviate on and like you deviate, but then you let that deviation
it'll last.
become justified. You justify it for a long. I think
Yeah.
that is self-sabotage because, you know, you start off and you have these goals and you have like this plan and you want to see it through and you're like, I'm gung-ho about this. Motivation wears off, right? And then you're like, fuck. And then it's just whatever one thing happens, which is completely normal. It's human behavior. Like when I had my thing, but it was, you know, in the past, what I wouldn't do, what I do with my coach was like, I would wake up in the middle of the night and, you know, binge all that food. And I would just wake up the next day and be like, fuck it. Like I'm going to start justifying why I shouldn't do that anymore. I'm fine with where I'm at. I'm happy, da, da, da. But I know in my heart of hearts, well, I started this whole journey because I wasn't, right? And I wasn't being my best self and really pushing myself. And so I think a sign that you are doing self-sabotaging is if like you kind of like are going one way and you maybe working with a coach and all of a sudden you're like, nope, I'm done. You know, and we see with clients that like stop the program all of a sudden. They like self-sabotage and they start looking for different, you know, things out there like, oh, this isn't my goal anymore. I don't want to do this and da da da. It's like talking themselves out of it and justifying.
There's an interesting analogy that because you know I listen to a lot of self-help
spiritual
and like motivational
Woo
coaches
woo.
and all that stuff, but I was listening to this one clip. It was Tony Robbins, but he's talking about we have this internal thermometer, right? So let's say you're comfortable at 78. If you start going below that, like your temperature goes below 65, your body will, or your mind will be like, okay, no, we're not a 65 or we're a 78er. So we got to do things to get us back to 78.
100%.
But if you start to push past that and you start getting to 100, it's like, oh, no, we're not there. So you kind of stop yourself from breaking through. And it's work to keep that quote unquote thermometer increasing and, increasing to 100%. Get you better and better and better. And I think a lot of people, unfortunately, everyone wants the short-term results. Mm-hmm. Everyone, like, who wouldn't want to get to their goal like that? It's amazing, right?
Yeah.
But the goals and the results that most people are looking to get are going to take at least a year, 1 to 2 years plus.
100%.
And it's a truth that no one wants to acknowledge. And I'm very clear with that with clients when I'm like, hey, we have a 12-week program. We're going to have great results. And this is laying the foundation. My goal is to work with you long-term to get you to the long-term goals. And, if somebody wants to build muscle, I'm like, that takes a long time. I'm just letting you know.
12 habits, you make 12 habits, 12 weeks, you make a habit. A year or two, you make it a life. Like, this is like how you live now.
Yeah. Yeah. That was something like, I think that's, I heard it somewhere. It's like, Well, it takes about 10 weeks to establish your habits. So in the 12-week program, you're just establishing the habits and getting used to it. It takes 6 months for that to become habitual, and
Right.
a year to become part of your lifestyle, and
Yeah.
2 to 3 years for it to become who you are.
Right. I think, with that, it's so interesting you're talking about the thermometer gauge, because I feel like, we're getting, we stay with where we're comfortable at, right?
yeah.
I think, I don't know. I was talking to someone else, and they're like, I feel like it's getting worse with social media, and like that instant gratification, and you get Amazon packages so fast, and da 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 da. I'm like, well, I think it's human behavior. I think, like, we. She was basically making the point that, like, we're getting we're less okay being uncomfortable now. I think that's kind of how we've always been, just wired as humans. Just we want to be comfort, and we want to, like, anything. It's a human response, right? It's like conditioned.
You're either way, we are in essence animals.
Yeah.
Even though
I'm a fucking animal.
I know you are.
Yeah.
But our brain is designed to keep us safe.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like I always say, silence the monkey, because it's evolution. It's your ancestors, whatever. It's just how our brain is wired to keep us safe. Our initial instinct is keep us safe, keep us protected. We don't want to get eaten by a dinosaur or whatever the hell.
Right.
Like, that's our brain, and you have to work past that. And that's why I love lifting, is because I have to work past this. Like, my body is hurting.
Yeah.
It sucks.
Yeah.
No one goes into a failure set thinking, oh, this is going to feel amazing. This is great. Like,
yeah,
it's hard.
It's an elevated level of human behavior, right? And it's like that. That's what separates us as humans from animals, is that we can manually override that, by being
100%.
aware of it, and, like, being intentional about pushing past that, whatever it is. And I think, like, it's funny because someone's like, yeah, we're just animals, like, we're just meant to, like, procreate and, like, fuck everything and da da da. I was like, dude, well, we're not animals, like, we're human beings.
You've
like,
seen Idiocracy, right?
Yeah,
in the beginning,
so
he's like,
good.
I'm fucking all y'all tonight.
Yeah.
That guy.
Yeah, totally. And so I was like, yes, but, like, a higher level of human behavior is, like, having relationships and, like, being monogamous, and, like, when we're supposed to be, like, our animal instinct is like, let's just be polygamous. And
again, justifying his perspective, right?
Totally. So anyways, where I was going with that is basically, like, I don't know. I think it's we're human. We gotta understand that, like, yes, we have these animal intentions in us, which are, like, that innate, like, we want to stop something, whatever, change everything. We need to be able to, override that.
Yeah.
With habits, creating habits, working with someone, and realizing, like, not just because we're animals and we retracted with one thing and went revert for a habit, like, I can't do this, it's too hard. No, it's like, dude, it's like, it's human behavior.
Absolutely. I ask every client when I onboard them, like, hey, this is going to be hard. There's going to be easy points. You're going to be excited. You're going to be times where it gets, you're going to grow. You're going to change. This is definitely going to change you. But all that comes with stepping out of your comfort zone. So I always ask for permission. I'm like, hey, are you okay with me pushing out of your comfort zone?
Yeah.
Because I want them to know, like, you're going to get uncomfortable.
Yeah. You have to get uncomfortable to see new growth.
Oh, for sure.
100%. And and that doesn't mean, like, oh my God, this is going to really suck and da da da. I think it's more inconvenient or annoying than it is, like, so hard, and, like, you're not getting tortured, dude. Like, no one's like,
you're changing you're going from this lifestyle to a completely different one.
100%.
It's gonna be uncomfortable
For
sure.
For sure.
I've been uncomfortable so many times.
Yeah. Okay. So we kind of covered that, like, self-sabotage, and how do you work your clients through? Obviously, you were talking about, hey, let's talk about when you deviated and when you did, like, sabotage, and create a game plan. Like, is there any other way that you kind of help clients work through that?
Yeah, well, I usually ask, like, what triggered it? Like, what are your triggers? Because if we figure out what the root cause is, because it's going to be a continuum.
Yeah.
If you have a certain trigger, whether it's stress or anything that just kind of throws you off, you get angry, like, what triggers you to go down that rabbit hole?
Yeah.
Because if we don't figure out the root, I'm just putting Band-Aids on stuff for you.
Totally.
By, like, oh, let's try this next time.
Let's just try Ozempic.
Portion out your food and sit at the table quietly. Like, well, no, why did you go off the rails and, like, binge all this, like, 25 Reese's Cups or whatever?
Right. You're talking about me?
Yeah.
Cool.
But I always want to. I always ask, like, okay, well, what triggered that for you?
Yeah.
Walk me through your day. Like,
Yeah.
what happened?
Yeah.
It's always going to be the same triggers.
Mm-hmm.
Once you can identify those, you can take control and take ownership by coming up with tools and strategies. So it just depends. If someone gets really stressed, I had a client I was working with. She had binge, eating issues with binge eating. I have another client that we're working on her relationship with food,
Mm-hmm.
and that self-sabotage sneaks in depending on what their triggers
Right.
are. So if someone has a trigger of stress, well, then we need to find stress reducing habits to keep
Right.
the stress down and other outlets. Because if your brain is triggered like stress food,
Mm-hmm.
we just need to alter that.
Yeah.
Like, what are some other options?
Yeah.
Some other things that you can feel just as satisfied with that
Right.
don't involve
Yeah, and
food.
it's not like, I have a client that's like, I'm just like burnt out. I'm burning out. I just feel like get to this place and like I go all out because I just burn out. And I was just like, okay, well, what can we change? Like, well, I just have to quit my job. I'm like, no, like let's talk about that. And are you, when you're working, what does that look like? And he's like, oh, I'm just sitting all day and just stressed and pissed at da da da. And I was like, well, have you ever tried to like breath work like while you work, like just focusing while you do mindless parts of your day and just like focusing on your inhale and exhale and taking like really deep inhales, deep exhales to the mouth and the nose. And like a lot of people are like, oh, well, I just need to like take that part out of my life. It's like, no, you don't. You just need to address it differently.
Yeah, like if it's not realistic to quit your job at this moment, we'll
Yeah.
create a strategy if that's what you want to remove that situation, that factor. But it again comes down to that mental toughness, right? So if you think about it, people who are mentally have that mental strength are able to adapt because they've built that. All these things get thrown at them, and they're handling it like this instead of
Yeah.
shutting down, like, oh, it's too much.
Yeah.
And it just comes from that resilience of just staying like the habits, and you keep your stress down. It takes a lot for me to get super overwhelmed and stressed. And it's just about how we react, how we're programmed to react to everything.
Yeah.
And if we learn to check in and do like, you have to do more self work. You have to do the
100%.
work 100%.
Yeah, you have to grow as a person. You have to, whatever it is, it's going to, whether it's like meditation or Bible or whatever, like you need to be growing as a person on your journey. Because if you're not, and if you're just like that same person that gets to do the same shit, like it's never going to change for you.
And getting out of that comfort zone, that's a big thing. Like if you'll see it, the pattern of like, oh, I can't do this, or oh, it's too hard. And then you see other people who are like, I'm up for the challenge. This is hard, but I'm going to figure it out.
Dude, and it's like, I was talking to someone, they're like, oh, I just have to not drink. And I was like, no, like, or they're like, I just have to not go out. And I was like, no, don't not go out. Like, don't like do that.
I've had
right?
clients tell me that too.
Yeah, and I think that's actually a really common thing. People try to do a diet and training program in a bubble and like, I'm not going to go out. I'm going to like do all this. I'm going to like go to sleep early and wake up. I was like, no. Let's be intentional. Let's go out. And maybe you don't drink, or maybe you just have like a glass of wine, but like you are intentional about that. I'm going to go out. I'm going to have a really fucking great time. I'm going to have one drink, and I'm just going to like, that's it. And I'm going to really push myself and stretch myself outside my comfort zone, because my comfort zone wants me to drink 4 drinks and like just like let loose and have McDonald's drive through right afterwards.
But you're still that person. It's just you're using alcohol as the reason for you to be that person.
Right.
You already are that person.
I think it's just being intentional about stretching yourself and putting yourselves in situations that you would deviate from, but have strategies and be intentional about staying on track and, staying in line with your goals basically, but not like in a way that's going to feel restrictive and I can't go out anymore. I can't drink anymore. I don't know, whatever it is like anymore. Cause I feel like we try to do this in a bubble, in a vacuum, and it never works. Cause that's like an all in, all out, because, the second that you're like, oh, fuck this, I'm going to go out. Yeah. I'm going to go out. I'm going to go out with my friends. I'm hungover the next day. Then it's like, you're all out again.
Yeah.
You just ended up right back. It's like, no, it takes it's a skill to do this when you're traveling, to do this when you're drinking, to do this when you're, stressed, when you're having an argument with your spouse. It's like, you have to develop the skill in all aspects of your life so that you don't sabotage, and understand when you are sabotaging yourself that we need to sit back, create action plan, game plan, all that stuff. Do you want to go to that reel there? First one. Wait, how far on are we? Okay, we'll wrap this up. So this guy,
Oh, this guy.
this fucking guy, dude, that's the worst thing ever. Like they're like, oh, that, and this is
In
an
the
influencer.
comments, somebody said he looks exactly the same.
I didn't even look at that. That's fucked up. But this guy is clearly, he's an intermittent fasting guy.
Yeah.
He's like obviously telling skip breakfast. It's horrible for you. Intermittent fasters and their insulin. Obviously, he's selling something. So he sells this package. Takes pictures in front of his Rolls Royce.
Convenient.
I mean, good at him. He's like balling out. Like he rolls the rolls and, you know, all that. You can pause it now. But it's like, you know, you can pause it, Blaine.
Drink that and then eat
Yeah.
big ass breakfast.
Fucking go ham. Don't count your macros or anything. Just guess your way to results. No, but I mean, this is kind of like, there's so many blanket statements this guy makes. There's a lot I agree with him on. Like, I think, you know, if it works into your lifestyle, maybe do intermittent fasting. Like, I don't know, for certain people, it's like, it's a time
tool.
thing. A tool. It's not the thing that's going to lower your blood glucose and your insulin and make you super insulin sensitive and make you like a different human being. You know, it's like, it's just a tool in the toolbox. And this guy is like this end all be all. Oh, by the way, buy the supplement because I'm going to give you a problem that doesn't exist. And then here's the cure for it, by the way.
Yes.
He's like, I don't have cravings. I don't have da-da-da. And I think the worst things coach can do is like, look at me. Like this used to be me and I did this. It's like, dude, well, what worked for you might not work for another person. So let's have a conversation with those.
What happens? How do you help someone when it doesn't work for them?
Totally. It's like, oh, it's a fucking, that
Just
was
keep
that
taking
person.
this packet.
It was the person. They're just fucking broken. What's the, oh, you sent me this guy, Anatoly.
Oh yeah.
On the bottom, you wanna go on the
Bill,
bottom?
shout out to
Let's skip
Bill.
this
He's
one.
the one who told me about
Shout
our
out
client Bill.
Definitely not watching this.
Oh,
This was good too.
yes. That's why we work out so early. I am gains.
I would say like number
I am
one should
not
be
weak.
like mindset trick. Get enough
I like
sleep.
Yeah.
Sleep enough. That's number one.
Sleep.
Because you're a bad human being. Not you. I'm sure you're great.
The hypothetical you.
The hypothetical you. I'm a bad. Like
The royal you.
You can't function. You mental clarity.
Yeah.
Or you know, it just you become.
I'm just not as focused.
Yeah. But I would say like that's good. But I was like, and that's like yeah, cool and all that stuff. But like, and that I think that kind of gives you. It's almost like I don't know. It's not like any real things that you can implement strategically because I feel like a lot of people are just when they when they like I am statements and this and that and if you're feeling this thing and you shouldn't do it, yes, 100%. But like, let's go back to the basics.
But
here.
it's a very gray area. There's no like.
Yeah.
Okay, you can do I ams, but most people don't know how.
Right.
Or do the thing you don't feel like, well, I don't feel like working. Let me do that first thing.
Right.
Okay.
I don't feel like working. Yeah.
Yeah, like I love going to the gym first thing in the morning. I know you and I go pretty early, but yeah, I don't feel like going after work. At
Yeah.
the end of my day, I do not want to go to the gym. Have I gone? Yes, because I need to, but I think people have this mindset of like, oh, I didn't go because I didn't feel like it. Nobody fucking feels like going to the gym every day.
No. If you feel like going to the gym every day, you're probably a psycho or a serial killer for real. No, honestly, like
Yeah.
most days I just like I know I'm gonna feel way better after I do this.
But again, it's that mental toughness, right?
Yeah.
You
Well,
just
now it's just
gotta
habit.
go. Yeah, it's
I
just
think now it's
habit.
just habit. It's like if I don't do it, I feel off. And I think that's where most of our clients get to after like
Yeah.
the first 3 to 6
for
months.
sure.
This guy, Anatoly, this is cool. This guy. So my biggest question is, do you think he's natural, even though he's tiny?
I don't know. It's kind because he was lifting like
So this guy, he just deadlifts heavy shit, and he poses like
he poses as the janitor,
yeah,
and then he asks people to move so he can clean stuff,
yeah.
and then he'll just lift.
So there, he doesn't look incredibly crazy
No,
big.
he
I
does
know
promote
that
a ton of supplements.
Oh,
I
he
think I
does?
saw something. Yeah, I didn't watch this whole thing.
there's been a bunch of natty or nots on him. Have you seen any of them?
Mm-mm.
They like guess if he takes steroids or not. Do I think he's natural? I don't know. Like, what did he pick up there? 4 plates and walked it backwards. That's pretty heavy.
Yeah.
That's like really heavy, actually.
That's super heavy. He lifted it like it was nothing.
Yeah.
And then that weight, I can't tell
I
what
think
that
it's 135,
is.
and he
it
puts
looks
it over his head.
135. Yeah, he just lifts it up.
And he's like, that guy's rowing like 120. Yeah, that's 500 pounds, right?
Yeah, I think there's 25s on the ends too.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So it's 405 plus that's 450.
Your bro math, Dylan.
My bro math's so good. Do you think he's natty?
I don't. That's a hard one. I don't know that he is, but you know, I'm very tiny and I'm very strong for my size.
Totally.
But
Yeah, I mean, genetically, freak.
yeah,
You know, like he's
and
able
it
to,
totally could be an anomaly.
and it totally could be an anomaly. But I feel like, yeah, that's genetics are huge. I think he is Eastern European, is he?
Yeah, I think so.
And like, not to like just put everyone in a box in Eastern Europe, but like a lot of them are big on Olympic lifting. Like they coach in Russia kids, 3-year-olds. They'll be like cleaning with brooms, not like that like doing like clean and press. They'll be doing like Olympic lifting with they're priming them from a very young age. But I also think genetics, we kind of gravitate towards what we're genetically good at. So I think like that.
Yeah, it really just depends, because let's say he hypothetically has been lifting since he was a little kid. You build muscle tone that young.
Yeah.
You're gonna be super strong. I used to bench press with my brother when I was 7 or 8 years old, and I remember bench pressing like 35 or 40 pounds, and I must have weighed like 60. So
Yeah, doing a lot of weight. Yeah. It's I think also if you look at his structure, I think he's really structurally kind of like good for deadlifts. I'd be interested to see his squat.
Yeah, I don't know if they show.
It's
that
like a
on
longer
there.
torso, shorter legs, makes it easier to deadlift. But yeah, he's a beast. I don't know if he's natty. I would probably say he is. I mean, this is strong. Like, I don't consider myself strong. I can deadlift that weight for reps, but he's deadlifting and then like walking it over. So like, I think he could be natural for sure. I think it's really funny that he does this. It's kind of interesting that he like social experiment, judge a book by its cover, just like that, deadlifting and walking it over. This guy's like, what the fuck? He's like cleaning up underneath.
Oh, that's only 10. Oh, it was 10 kilograms. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was 195 or 100. Yeah. These guys are like, what? But I think that like the point I wanted to make while bringing this up is like, do you have to, if you're strength training, it doesn't mean you're automatically going to get like that big. Like you can see they're deadlifting the same weight, and these guys are more muscular, and this guy isn't as muscular.
Yeah.
At least in the suit. But just because you're getting stronger does not mean you're getting more muscular. If you have to train to get muscular. We train hypertrophy.
I think a lot of women have like I have female clients who are like, oh, I don't want to get bulky. I feel like when I lift weights, my arms get really big. I'm like, do they though?
Yeah.
Because have you really like honestly lifted?
Well, and
my arms are only going to get pretty much this big.
Right, but also they might, but also they might build a little muscle. Well, that takes a long ass time. But they're like, last time I did it, I just got bulky. Well, they probably stayed the same body fat and just built like some muscle. They had like glycogen in their muscle and some like nutrients and water. It's not like they're actually putting on real tissue. It takes a long ass time. If you're on steroids, those guys are like, please, like 8 pounds of tissue a year. If you're a newbie and you're natural, probably 5 pounds. Pure tissue. And you think about like a meat pack. If you put meat packs over your body, that 5 pounds of it, it's not that much. It doesn't look like that much.
No. I was 105 when I started reverse dieting and putting on muscle. That was in October of 2021.
Yeah.
So I've put on 20 pounds in almost 2 years.
Yeah.
Just pretty good. It's like quite a bit.
So you put on 20 pounds.
Yeah.
But not all of it muscle.
No, there's been some body fat.
And obviously you're like, we're talking pure tissue of that 20 pounds. You've been lifting for 2 years. I would say probably 10 pounds of that is tissue. And that's 2 years and like really training at an advanced level and like really capturing those newbie gains. But I'd say 10 pounds of tissue. And then obviously the rest of it's like water, body fat, glycogen,
Yeah.
stuff like that, nutrients. Good stuff. Yeah. If you wanna give the call to action.
If you want to get ripped like me,
That's how you.
I love programming for women to do like weightlifting, feel your body,
Yeah.
lift heavy shit.
Yeah. Well, I think if you're someone who like, you are interested in building muscle or just like body recomposition, we customize all our programs for every single
Yes.
one of our clients.
We'll
In
meet
terms
you
of our
where you're at.
training wise, but also like nutrition, like 80% of your results from nutrition. So if you're like, I know I can eat, you're one of these three people, you're like, I don't know what to do, or I know what to do, I'm not doing it.
Right.
Or you're just like, you know what? I want to get better. And I know that there are some gaps in what I'm doing.
Yep.
Hit us up. DM me your results. Dylan A. Conrad at,
Gotcha.
at Dylan A. Conrad on Instagram or at dc.fitness.1. We'll put that up on the screen, or I'll put it in the notes actually, because it's too much work.
We would love to work with you.
Blaine's like, no, not doing that. Hit us up. Love you. Enjoy the rest of your day. Peace to the gods. Got to pee so bad.